Okay, I'll start off with an apology. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the title of this episode. It's all I can come up with. All my creativity went into thinking and planning this episode out. I'm not good with names, okay? I think I've said that before on this podcast or some random other podcast I've done. I'm not good with names. I'm sorry about the title. Frank A.I. Stein was the best I can come up with. Oh, sorry. Dr. Frank A.I. Stein. I'm sorry. But that's the best I can do for a title. You come up with a better title. Me and AI will work on the story. I should have used AI to come up with the title. No. It would have been worse. Okay. It's still three things. It's still spooky season. The day I'm recording this is October 15th. We are in prime spooky season. This is still Dumb Test Slate, where I use AI to come up with movie and TV ideas. And I'm still Kirk. I'm still here with my buddy AI, all my chat bots. And like I apologize from the title, this one, a spooky story that I randomly came up with while at work. I randomly thought about the story of Frankenstein. And mainly, not just the story of the monster. I think after the book, the original book by Mary Shelley, is that her name? I forgot her name already. I'll look it up. But the original book, other stories have like rotated around the actual monster. First things first, the monster's name is not Frankenstein. The doctor's name is Frankenstein. Who creates him? It's Dr. Frankenstein's monster. But like I said, stories about Frankenstein have been mostly about the monster. There's some like one-offs, like there's one movie where it's more about the story of Dr. Victor Frankenstein and his helper that I can't think of the name, because in preparation for this, I listened to the audio version of the book. I wanted to read the book, but I really don't have time and patience to read books that long anymore, especially books that were written in the 1800s. And I looked, for some reason, the only movie, I don't have Netflix anymore. I was looking at what Frankenstein movies were on streaming, and the only one I can find that was available for me to watch like right now was Young Frankenstein, which is an amazing movie. But as far as like Frankenstein goes, it's different. It's a one-off. There are only a few comedies when it comes to Frankenstein. Like I said, I did research. I created a list of movies to watch. I didn't watch any of them. Sorry. I even bought like a Frankenstein, not box set, but a Frankenstein collection on DVD. That includes the original Frankenstein movie from 1931, The Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I haven't watched it yet though. I will. Because it's still spooky season. 8 films from the original legacy. Hopefully I'll get like a different perspective and come back to this story. Because like I said, the main thing I did was listen to the audio version of the original book. I think the original book is titled Dr. Frankenstein. So yeah, the original book is just called Frankenstein. But I'm looking it up now. Yeah, Mary Shelley. It's Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. I never seen that before. It's the first time I've seen that when it was called Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. But yeah, the doctor, Dr. Victor Frankenstein. The monster is never really given a specific name in the original story. I listened to like a couple different audio versions to get through the whole thing. It was amazing. I loved it. But he's either called the demon or the devil or the monster or something like that when he's referred to. But I mean, from osmosis, everyone has seen like or heard the main, like what happened in Frankenstein, mainly in the movies. That's why I say in the book is so different. I wanted to start off with the original because it's so different than what's depicted in other retellings of the movie, because it's based more around the doctor and the story of revenge. Because like everybody has that vision of Frankenstein being created in the lab where there's like electricity and lightning and the dead body parts. That's not really talked about too, like the actual creation of the monster. It's referred to very little. in the book. It's more about the storytelling of what happens after that, and the themes of, you know, revenge and I guess self-awareness and growing and all that stuff. Because in the story, the monster realizes that he's hideous, and he has a hatred of his creator, Dr. Frankenstein, because the world will not accept him. They only want to hurt him. And so he goes to the doctor and tells the doctor to make him an equal, so he can live alone, because he'll never be accepted by the rest of humanity. All he wants is an equal to have companionship. The doctor was about to. He was generally making the Bride of Frankenstein, but he stops it at the last minute when he has like this fear of, this won't be the end if I give the monster what he wants. Because the monster says, I'll go away. If you give me a companion, I'll go away and I'll be with them forever, and we won't bother humanity. But then the doctor panics. I'm getting too much in this story of Frankenstein. Look it up yourselves. It's an old book. Listen to the audio version. But he doesn't do that, and so the monster takes revenge on Dr. Frankenstein. In the end, spoiler, sorry, literally the doctor dies hunting down the monster. He gets old and he dies. He passes away on a boat that's going to the North Pole, on a ship, I should say, that's waiting for the ice to melt to go to the North Pole. And then the monster sees that and then kills himself. He goes away like on a small ice float to die, because he feels like his revenge is done. Okay, so that leads, sorry for all that, the backstory, that leads into what I wanted to create. Of course, this podcast is based around creating stories with AI. So I was thinking of the themes of Frankenstein's monster with AI. I tried so hard not to go down the cheesy road. Because there's a movie that came out a couple years ago called I, Frankenstein. I never saw. And also it made me think of the movie. There's a movie from, I had to look it up. It was 1995 or 96 with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, called Virtuosity, where in this virtual world, the police create like a simulated person that's played by Russell Crowe that has like, not the DNA, but the characteristics of, they take all these characters from serial killers to create this virtual person to train police. Of course, this person somehow escapes from the virtual world and creates his own body in the real world and creates havoc, and Denzel has to stop him. I didn't want to go the cheesy world of Frankenstein, a monster that's in a virtual world but becomes a real life and starts hunting people down. I feel like either that's been done or that's too easy. So this is my story, because the whole time I was listening to the audio version of Frankenstein, because a lot of it is told from the perspective of Dr. Frankenstein, telling what's going on with the monster. There's also a narration, but so my story will base around the creator, the doctor, and it will be on, not on the internet, but I'll say they're a hacker, and they kind of come from like poor upbringing. So they learn about, it's kind of set in current times where they learn about, crypto and stuff on the internet. And they kind of learn the shortcuts of hacking, like hacking to earn money on the internet, doing small stuff, not really big, like stealing money from people, but kind of creating bots and creating programming language to extract small amounts of money to get by. But the problem is they don't have enough time to they can only think of small things to create like money for themselves. Cause like I said, they're from poor upbringing. They're just doing it to survive, and they're like going to school or trying to, grow up and all that stuff. So they create a way, like a bot that duplicates itself, so it can run all these scamming things in the background, like just by itself, like kind of AI or autonomous, whatever that would be, to do all these things by themselves. So they kind of create a bot AI to run scams. The problem is it gets too big and it gets out of control, and then they start to panic. So what happens is all these separate bots that they created come together as one like hive mind, I'll say. But all this hive mind knows is illegal activities. It's stealing. It's, scamming. So it has already a bad mindset. And the person who creates it, the Dr. Frankenstein, I'll say Victor. It's Victor Frankenstein from the book. So from now on, I'll say Victor. He panics and he tries to, sorry for that, my phone. Sorry for that. And he tries to shut it down. But like I said, it's become aware and it's a hive mind and he can't shut it down. And it wants to make a deal with him. So let's say the hive mind talks, finds a way to communicate with him through the internet, through whatever, and says, I'll run these scams for you, make all this money for you, make you super rich. You won't have to do anything. You created me, and all I know how to do is just run these programs and scans as bots, and that's what I'll do. But he panics because he thinks he's going to get caught. Also, he thinks he's going to get caught, so Victor, there's a way he blames like other people. The other aspect was that I thought of, he would use like Fiverr, where you hire people to do like smaller tasks for you. He would do that in a way to blame them, like he would hire them to do something, but also be a scapegoat. So because like it gets out of control and there's the bots that he created are scamming all this money. The monster he created, this hive mind, is scamming all this money, and it's going to lead to him. So he panics and does something. So it looks like people from poorer countries or people who are just doing these small Fiverr tasks are the ones stealing the money, so they can get blamed instead of him. So when the hive mind contacts him, that goes into the element of revenge. He feels like they're contacting him to set him up to get revenge because he set someone else up, not knowing what they were doing, but he set them up to take the fall for stealing this money or stealing crypto or whatever it was. That's my revenge side of the story. And he tries to shut it down, but it doesn't. He feels like it's become self-aware and it's running on its own. He feels like he created his demon or his devil, his Frankenstein's monster that's running by itself, and it's going to get revenge on him. So he starts freaking out. He starts trying to delete all these programs and erase computers, but he sees it becoming self-aware and it doing stuff by itself, and it's getting revenge on him. It's like setting him up and putting stuff in the media and all this. Like Victor becomes famous, and not famous, but rich. So he's getting extra attention and all this stuff. Now kids, when they get money, they try to show off on the internet. So he's getting set up like that, and he's panicking and he's freaking out, and he thinks he's being hunted, because in the book of Frankenstein hunts down Victor. Frankenstein's monster hunts down Victor Frankenstein and kills like his wife, his friends, and all that stuff, because he's trying to make his life miserable. The monster wants to show him how miserable he is, so he's trying to make the doctor miserable as revenge. So that's what Victor in my story thinks is going on. He thinks he created a monster that has become self-aware on the internet that's hunting him. But see, this is where my story takes a twist, because so in my twist, there is no monster. Because when I was listening to the audio version of the book, I kept getting this reoccurring thought in my head that Frankenstein's monster doesn't exist. That's why he never has a name. There's never a name for the monster. He's just referred to as demon or devil, which obviously isn't true, because other people see him in the story. But I was saying in my story, Victor gets so paranoid that he thinks he created this monster that's getting revenge on him. But the twist is there's no actual monster. There's no AI created monster. There's no special. There's nothing like that. It's from the people who he set up earlier to take the fall. The like smaller people he was hiring to specifically take the fall without them knowing and get blamed. They were in like a hacker group, like a Anonymous, I think it's called. They were in like a small hacker group. So the remaining members of the hacker group that didn't get arrested or locked up or anything like that, or didn't get in trouble, they are hunting Victor and setting him up and making him paranoid and think there's some AI monster. they're the ones who saw what he did, and they're getting revenge on him, to the point where Victor, sorry, this is content warning for anyone. Victor gets so paranoid, he takes his own life at the end. The reason I came up with this, because at the end of the original book, Dr. Frankenstein, he doesn't take his life. He ends up passing away. He ends up dying hunting down the monster while the monster is hunting him. And after the monster sees that Dr. Frankenstein dies, he takes his own life. That's why in my story, Victor Frankenstein is the monster. There is no actual monster. He's the one that created this bot to steal money, and it got out of control. And instead of him ending it or taking the blame himself and facing whatever consequences, he blamed other people. He blamed smaller people that were less powerful or had less money or from, a poorer country. They took the fall for his monster, which he was the actual monster. That's why I feel like in my story, the Dr. Victor Frankenstein has to die in the end, while thinking the monster is hunting him, but actuality, it was him being the monster. But yeah, that's my Frankenstein story. I do need to watch the movies. Like, I have a list of like Frankenstein movies I wanted to watch. The original one, I got those DVDs. I heard The Bride of Frankenstein for some reason is really good, which is I think the next direct sequel after the original one. Young Frankenstein, of course, it's been forever since I've watched that, and that's always been an amazing movie when you talk about Frankenstein movies. There was a movie that came out this year, that's on streaming now. I guess you would say it's an indie movie. It's called An Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, which looks amazing. Since it's still spooky season, I want to watch that. I was like looking up this list online. They brought up Blackenstein from the 70s and how that's a really good movie. They mentioned the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which, Frankenfooter. You always have to watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. There's a movie that came out in 2015 that was just called Frankenstein. It's with like a younger person who has like a skin disease or something like that. And I guess they're the Frankenstein. I don't know. And The Curse of Frankenstein in the 50s, which is supposedly a really different kind of take on Frankenstein that I heard was pretty good, that I'll have to watch. Maybe I'll watch those and come up with more ideas to add to my story. But that's my main story. I wanted to tell a Frankenstein story with not the Frankenstein monster being the actual monster. Like Dr. Frankenstein is the monster, which is probably brought up in some like version of the telling of it. But that's in this future we're going with AI and everything online. We create these things online and it may get out of control. The AI we created may get out of control. I think there's a movie coming out, or it came out, called The Creator, I think. It's about AI in the future, and it gave off, when I first saw the preview, it gave off real like Golden Child vibes. But I heard it's like really like a lot of action and stuff, but a weak story, or like a generic story. Like AI takes over and we have to find the one person that can stop it, and it's a child, and oh well. But yeah, it's spooky season, guys. Hopefully this one wasn't too disjointed. But yeah, it's my Frankenstein story. Maybe I'll revisit it before the end of spooky season. But I have 2 more story ideas that I have working in my head, that I'll do. The next one I'm going to do pretty soon, because it's what I thought, like it popped into my head while I was working on the idea for this Frankenstein one. So while it's fresh and I'm getting ideas about it, I want to put it out soon. So hopefully I have that one out in a couple days. But thanks for listening. And sorry again for the name of the name I came up with. Like I said, I'm not good with naming names. But thanks again. This is still Dumb Test Late. I'm still Kirk. I'm still with my chat bot, which I didn't even use. To come up with a Frankenstein, because there have been so many Frankenstein stories. I wanted to take it in a different way. But If you're hearing this, check out the Instagram. I'll put some pictures on there for Dumb Test Late and also the website. So thanks again. Hope you guys enjoy spooky season. Bye-bye.